Hello guys, and welcome to my presentation on tort liability. Tort liability is tort law is based on a legal premise that individuals are liable for the consequences of their own conduct or lack thereof when such actions result in injuries to others. That's from Tort Liability 101. When are teachers liable? In a school or classroom setting, tort law is the most common area of the law that subjects teachers to personal liabilities. Two of those main categories are intentional and negligent torts. Intentional torts is when an individual attempts or intends to cause harm to another. For intent to exist, the individual must be aware that the injury will or could be the result of the act. Four common types of intentional torts are assault, battery, false imprisonment, and defamation. The four negligent torts, four categories of this are duty, breach, proximate cause, and injury. The first case that I want to discuss is Barrett versus Unified School District 259, where Robert Alexander Barrett, a 12th grade student, high school student at Southeast High School in Wichita, Kansas, was participating in two-a-day practices. The first practice started at 83 degrees. They went out and then came in for break. So they came back out. It was around 100 degrees. They were participating in some cardio drills, and the student athlete told one of the assistant coaches that he was not feeling well. So the coach told him to take a break, sit out, go get a drink. Player returned to the cardio stations after the break, and then when the practice was over, the student athlete collapsed coming off the field. A day later, the student would pass away from what would later be found out to be heat stroke. A wrongful death action was filed for negligence against the USD 259 and Coach Dan Johnson, the head coach of the team, by the player's mother. The response to this case, the athletic department and human resources would get involved to make sure all proper procedures were followed and to get a first-hand written report from the coach or coaches. Some proactive measures that could have been in place. Players could be checked out by the training staff before heading out to the field for the second session of practice with temperatures that high. When a player told the assistant coach he wasn't feeling well, the coach could have sent him inside to be checked out and cool off by getting his pads off. And also a more stringent physical needs to be in place for these student athletes before participating in such a grueling sport such as football. Second case, Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School. The mother of a special education student sued the student's school district for damages the student sustained in after-school hours off-campus sexual assault. A jury found the school district negligent in failing to adequately supervise the special education student and awarded damages. Mitchell sued Kennedy for negligence, alleging Kennedy had breached a duty of reasonable care in one of the following ways: failing to adequately supervise the student, failing to timely notify Mitchell of the student's unauthorized absence from school, failing to adequately monitor the student's attendance at school, failing to take appropriate and immediate action upon discovery of the absence from school, and failing to provide adequate security to prevent special education students from leaving the school campus without authorization, and finally failing to maintain an adequate system of monitoring special education students during the school day. So two students aged around 14, special education students, both with an IEP, ended up skipping fifth period, or ended up skipping sixth period. They had this teacher for fifth period, and they met up with a 19-year-old student that was also on an IEP. the student's mother who is filing the suit. It was the mother's student that had earlier met up with the 19-year-old in the hallway, and one of the teachers, one of the special education teachers, had seen the students having physical contact. So this student and the two students in the fifth period class ended up skipping and meeting up after school where the alleged sexual assault took place. The district in this case would check to see if all school policies were followed. If so, the educators would likely remain in the classroom. If not, teachers would be put on a temporary leave of absence until the lawsuit was settled. I think in this case, the teachers checked all the boxes as far as policy went. One of the teachers could have contacted the student's mom when they saw said student being physical with a 19-year-old. This student was only 14 in the hallways, or at least looked more into the situation. No student should be able to leave school property without being questioned. That should go for regular students and special education students. So having a more stringent system in place to make sure that these students are not leaving school grounds during school hours. The third case, Barnett versus Caldwell. This was a high school student, Antoine Williams, was engaging in some horseplay with another student. The attending teacher, Phyllis Collins, left her classroom and asked the teacher to listen out for her class. Mrs. Caldwell did not instruct the hall monitor to watch her class. So Antoine's students sued Caldwell for wrongful death based on negligent supervision as she left the classroom. So during this time, the two students that were horsing around, one fell on top of the other, causing the damage. And again, this was just accidental horseplay. It ended up being that the teacher who had left the classroom, the court found in favor of the teacher. Her absence from the classroom was a discretionary act that entitled her to official immunity from the duty to supervise students in the classroom. Official immunity basically means that a public official would not be liable for injuries to others as long as the official was exerting official authority. In this case, the district would check to see if all school policies were followed. If so, the educators would likely remain in the classroom. If not, the teacher or teachers would be put on temporary leave of absence until the lawsuit was settled. Proactive measures. As teachers, we really need to have a system in place where our classroom is being monitored and not just listened to when we must leave the classroom unattended. However, this can be a bit tricky between periods. I know in our school, we are required to be in the hallways during switching of classes, which is in our building a 4-minute time session. So obviously we're going to be having students coming in and out of the classroom being unsupervised in that time period. And again, like I said, this is a tricky situation, and I know in our building, but if this is during a class time, there needs to be a system in place that your class is not being left unattended. Case number 4, NM versus Anchorage School District. In Rogers Park Elementary, a kindergartner was running to his mom after school, tripped and fell on a sidewalk where there was a stump that was unseen because of a clump of pine shrubs was over top of it. And one of the sticks punctured the child's eye socket, reaching the frontal lobe of his brain. The injuries have permanently altered this student's life. The family claimed the district was negligent in allowing the stumps to remain on the path, trafficked heavily by children. Ultimately, the family was awarded $4.5 million in damages to the student and family, plus additional money for emotional distress suffered by his parents. This decision was the largest civil judgment ever against Anchorage School District. And again, some of the complications for this student with the frontal lobe ended up being damaging the part of the brain that regulates hunger and appetite, sleep, body temperature, and even the onset of puberty. In this case, the school would document the incident and follow policy to work with those involved in the lawsuit. Proactive measures. The school maintenance team could have cleaned up the area and removed the stump. Until the stump was removed, knowing there would be a mass of students leaving each day, the district could have put up caution tape or orange cones in front of the stump and debris to notify people that were crossing there that that stump was there, to prevent that damage from happening. Finally, Hall versus Jones. In Alabama, the court documents the incident arose a fight between two teenage boys in a game of basketball in a middle school physical education class. Jones was the education teacher in charge at the time of the incident. The two students were playing basketball, guarding each other closely, and began fighting. Other students in the gymnasium intervened, but the kids continued to jaw at each other and continue in a verbal confrontation. When another student, a third student, pushed one of the students that was involved into the other, which then was a response to the other one slamming the other boy into metal stairs. The first student suffered a serious head injury. The mother filed a lawsuit not only against Jones, but the other two physical education teachers at the time. What had happened was Jones went to another part of the physical education area to tell the girls' physical education teacher that the math teacher had a message for her. So leaving his post, this is when this broke out. Jones's appeal of the decision was denied by the circuit court on the grounds that he failed to file within generally accepted reasonable time frame of 42 days, which the other two physical education teachers did. The mother actually dropped the case against those two, but continued on against Jones. He also failed to include any statement of circumstances that would show some good cause as to why the court should consider his petition. In response to this, the teachers involved would write up an incident report. Administration would check the cameras, school cameras in the gym to see specifics. Some proactive measures: the teacher could have sent a responsible student to tell the girls' physical education teacher the message. The teacher could have reacted in a quicker manner to the situation. This is a list of my references used in this presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I have enjoyed reading or viewing a lot of yours, and I hope you guys all have a great week and a good night.